Welcome to Move the Chains with Jonathan Rivers. Here's your host, Jonathan Rivers.
Let there be football. Welcome to Move the Chains. I'm your host, Jonathan Bam Rivers. The MT Sheet call sheet today is packed full, and we're going to start with my draft rules. That's right, your boy has come up with his own set of draft rules. So all GMs in the NFL and everybody that's paying attention to Move the Chains, because I know you are, just let me educate you on this. And the second down is always going to be answering your questions regarding the NFL and social media. And in my nonsense narrative, there's this thought that the Giants, now again, this is assuming that everything stays the way it is, but that they shouldn't pick a quarterback with a number 3 overall pick. Now, I'm not talking about any specific quarterback. I just mean a quarterback in general. People think that it shouldn't be done, and I just think it's a nonsense narrative. And lastly, a lot of people love flash when it comes to the NFL draft. They like to make a splash. But splashes don't always equal winning. Sometimes they lead to drowning, in my estimation. All that and more here on Move the Chains, but you know what time it is. Let's kick it off with first down. All right, so the NFL draft is a week away. I'm excited about it. There's nothing better than being able to watch the NFL draft and calling it work. I'm just here to tell you that right now. But a lot of people have different processes. They have different, draft rooms and strategies when they come up to the NFL draft. Some are successful, some are not. But I always have what I call non-negotiables. The same way, if you remember last season during college football, I came up with what would be my college football playoff criteria. Well, I'm giving you BAM's NFL draft rules. And here's the first rule. Let me get it, Ernest. Number 1, trust the tape. Now, how often have you seen a team disregard what players have put on tape for the past 3 or 4 seasons in college? Because the NFL Combine comes about, all these interviews come about. And again, the combine is important. The interview is important. They're like a dish. Ingredients make up a dish. So every ingredient has its place. But there's always a foundation. There's always a genesis. There's always a rock that solidifies everything else. And it's always the tape. Because when you watch the tape tells you how good somebody is in terms of game situation. The tape tells you whether somebody is loafing or not. The tape tells you how somebody reacts to being hit and getting back up. The tape told me how good Joe Burrow was when he was in a bowl game with LSU, I think against Central Florida in his first year at LSU, how he got decleated after throwing a pick 6, got back up and helped lead his team to winning that football game. That told me what I needed to know about Joe Burrow, right? So you have to trust the tape. So no matter what other information you get throughout the draft process, and it will be a lot, because you have to do your due diligence, I don't want people to disregard what's always going to be the most important facet of recruiting and the most important facet of being able to understand how you're going to develop players moving forward, and it will be the tape. So please, number 1, first and foremost, trust the tape because it won't lie. All right? My second rule when it comes to NFL draft, trade back if you're not in love. Now, see, I told you I'm not somebody who's in love with the term reaching. I think if you love somebody, go get him. But in the same respect, if you don't love somebody, you don't have to draft a player just because you have the 10th overall pick, right? Because what happens when you do trade back? You're able to accumulate more picks, which means you're accumulating capital. And when you have capital, you can operate a business. I continue to tell everybody, if you're running a business, you've got to have the money. You've got to have the capital or it won't work. And see, in the NFL, when it comes to the draft, picks are capital. Because you can either pull back and then acquire more capital, but then let's say as the draft unfolds, because we know that the draft is not stagnant, it is a fluid type situation. What if you say, okay, now the 28th pick has come back up, I want to get back in the first round. Well, because you traded back initially, you've gained more capital, more draft picks, more resources. You can then move back up in the first round if you want to take a player whom you feel like would give you more value at that pick. So don't just say, hey, we've got the 5th pick, we've got to take a player here. If you don't love the player because he's transcendent, or you don't love the player because he fits what you can do defensive scheme-wise or offensive scheme-wise, or you don't love the player because he can be somebody you develop a new scheme around, don't take the pick right there. Be okay with trading back, gather yourselves, reconfigure a plan, have a multitude of contingencies, which you should have in the first place, and then make your selections moving forward. All right? What's my third rule? Draft for the present and the future. See, this is where I continue to talk about teams like Kansas City. I continue to talk about teams like Philadelphia. And this really is speaking to the New England Patriots under Bill Belichick when he was there as GM and head coach. Of course, Robert Kraft and Tom Brady as their quarterback. A lot of people don't think about this one word when it comes to the NFL, but they always talk about it when it comes to college football, and it's depth. And I don't know if because in the NFL there's a draft and in the college football there's a recruiting process, but depth in the NFL is just as important as depth in college football. And this is why when you're drafting, remember guys, most good teams, most great teams build their draft in rounds 3 through 7. Okay? First and second round is what everybody pays attention to, even though the whole draft is televised, but everybody pays attention to the first and second round, then they kind of go away in terms of watching the draft. I watch it from the rooter to the tutor because I understand that the offensive lineman you took in the 3rd round, he may not be a starter for you right now, but now he's giving you depth and value on that offensive line. I understand that the tight end you took in the 4th round, he may not end up being your starter, but because you're running that 22 personnel with 2 backs and 2 tight ends, or you're running that 13 personnel with 1 back and 3 tight ends, and now you need to score on the goal line in a league that is still and can be won running the football, as the Philadelphia Eagles have shown us, the depth matters. So when you're building for the future, you are putting yourself in position to win then, and not necessarily making sure that you're not winning now. You can do both, but only good teams understand how to do that, and it centers around depth. When you build the right depth, you're creating an opportunity to make sure that you're a viable option to win your division or be a playoff team now and 5 years from now. All right, draft rule number 4, prioritize greatness over position. This is what I'll say. There are so many people that think that you shouldn't draft a running back in the 1st round. I'm not for that wisdom. I'm not for that kind of thinking unless he's not a 1st round player, right? Because, yeah, you don't have to take a running back in the 1st round. But Derrick Henry should have gone in the 1st round because he's transcended. Jahmyr Gibbs went in the 1st round and it paid off for the Lions, right? Bijan Robinson went in the 1st round and I think it's paid off for the Falcons. Ashton Jeanty, whom I'll talk about later in this show, I think is absolutely a 1st round pick. So stop looking at positions and determining why you shouldn't take a position in any particular round. It's the player you're looking at. There's always this conversation, do you take the best available player or position need? And honestly, I go back and forth with it. But when you have a guy who is a transcendent culture creator and a phenomenal player on the field, you take him where you can feel like he can best help your team, even if he's a running back and it's the 1st round. I'm not always in favor of necessarily taking a wide receiver in the 1st round because you can get value in the 2nd or 3rd round. But, man, when you have a game changer like a Jamar Chase or a Justin Jefferson, it's okay to take him in the 1st round. But understand that you still have to build around him, which leads me to rule number 5. Build around the quarterback before you get one. Listen, when you have a baby, you don't want to wait until the baby's born to make sure the house is baby-proof, to make sure you have the crib, to make sure you have the diapers, to make sure you have the clothes, because now you're behind the 8 ball. So why, as an NFL team, would you wait to draft your quote-unquote franchise quarterback, but you haven't surrounded him with the requisite talent and the requisite protection and the requisite weapons to help him be successful? I love what teams like the Raiders are doing right now. I love what teams like the Chiefs did. I love what teams are doing in terms of building a team and then go out and get your franchise quarterback, because your quarterback can only be your franchise guy if you prepare him for it. And that won't just be with talent. That will be with the development process and the opportunity of what he has around him. Complementary pieces. And it's not just on the offensive side of the football. Special teams and defense matter in that regard. So if you're looking for your franchise quarterback, make sure you build around him first before you drop him in a situation like Andrew Luck or David Carr and let the career get beat out of him. All right, when we come back from the break, social media questions. Oh, those draft rules are off the chain, man. And so will me answering these questions after the break. Back when we move the chains, right after this. And welcome back in to Move the Chains. Before I get to answering the questions via social media today, I want to take this opportunity to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for the opportunity to host Move the Chains. Secondly, I want to thank you, the fans, for watching Move the Chains, whether you're watching it on the Sports Leader Fox 54, whether you're watching on TikTok, whether you're watching on YouTube. I truly and sincerely thank you. And also to the best production crew in the business who makes this show work. And I want to continue to tell you guys there are big changes coming for the show. We are growing, and that will be depicted on what you'll see soon. So just stay tuned. All right, having said all that, you know what time it is. It's time for Second Down. All right, so in the offseason, where there is no offseason here on Move the Chains, I love to make sure that I'm scouring the internet for questions, and so do my producers and directors. So let's go to the first question we have here. What's the biggest draft need for the Atlanta Falcons? It's easy. The Falcons were 31st in the NFL in pass rush last year. And see, a lot of sacks, a lot of people look at sacks as if it's the end-all, be-all. And it's not necessarily end-all be-all because pressure on the quarterback matters as well. But either way you look at it, the Falcons didn't do either, which is why they went out and got Morgan Fox as an unrestricted free agent from the Chargers. They went out and got Leonard Floyd, formerly of the San Francisco 49ers, because they understand the plan. And I told you, the Falcons with Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris are doing good things. They know the plan they have, but I just talked about this in my draft rules, right? You have to create depth. So they have to get a good rush up the middle for the run, stopping the run and the pass rush. So remember, Grady Jarrett is no longer an Atlanta Falcon. One of the pieces that made this defense go over the last decade is now in Chicago. So they need to draft interior linemen and also maybe a pass rusher like a Mikael Williams coming out of Georgia, who's a hometown kid, will be close to home, and who is a very good player. So they need to solidify that defense because offensively, they're good. But they're going to have to find ways to get off of the field on third down this year, and that's going to be sacking the quarterback or being able to stop the run. They haven't been able to do it, so that's what they should address in the draft, in my opinion. All right, what's the second question that we have? What's the best landing spot for Ashton Jeanty? Listen, the Vegas Raiders, to me, are the premier answer. And I know this is me not overthinking the room because a lot of people have him projected to go at the Raiders at 6. I think he should go to the Raiders for a couple of reasons. One, he ran the ball 374 times at Boise State. That's a lot. So now I think he's gone the opposite of what a lot of players do. A lot of players come from college, and then they go into the NFL running the ball a lot because in college they had a lot of depth and they split carries. Ashton Jeanty didn't split carries at Boise State. But with the Raiders, Pete Carroll's a new head coach. And what does Pete Carroll love to do? Who was he with last with Seattle? He had Marshawn Lynch, right, and a good offensive line. That's what he's trying to build here. Who's the new offensive coordinator for the Vegas Raiders? It's Chip Kelly. Remember Chip Kelly, formerly of Oregon and the Philadelphia Eagles as a head coach? Everybody knew that he liked to run full speed and liked to go fast. But what was the genesis and the crux of what his offense was? It was a run-centric offense. The Raiders also brought in Raheem Mostert, former Dolphin and 49er running back, and they've built their team, guys, through tight ends. They've got Brock Bowers, and they've also got the tight end out of Notre Dame a few years ago, so in Mayer. So what I'm telling you is this will be I think a lot of one running back, 3 tight end set, 1 running back, 2 tight end set, and they're going to run the football. And Ashton Jeanty, I think, will thrive in this, but also because he won't be the only back, even if he's the feature back. All right, what's the last question we have today? What rookie may make the biggest impact in 2025? So, guys, we're all going to talk about the Shedeur Sanders of the world, the Travis Hunters of the world, the Abdul Carters of the world, and all that's well and good. I think they will. But Shemar Stewart out of Texas A&M, and I'm not just saying this because this guy is an edge rusher or because of the way he performed at the NFL Combine. Like, he's shot up a lot of people's draft boards. But I'm going to tell you, if you didn't watch him play at Texas A&M, you did yourself a disservice because if you go back and look at his stats, it's not as if his stats are through the roof. And a lot of times that was because he was being double-teamed because he's that good. But, man, he is just a playmaker. And sometimes making plays doesn't mean you make the tackle. It can be blowing up 1 or 2 offensive linemen so your interior D tackle gets the sack. Or it can be going out there in the flats and making sure that the running back doesn't get to the edge so everybody else flowing inside out can get to the football. Shemar Stewart is just a playmaker, and he just jumped out on tape to me when I watched A&M. You know, I watch a lot of college football just like I watch a lot of NFL, and this guy is a beast. And I know everybody loves his upside, and so do I. So I think you will, barring injury, of course, especially if he goes to a team like the Bengals or the Cowboys who need help, specifically Cincinnati. If he's coached up and his talent shines the way I think it can, he could be one of the biggest and most impactful rookies in this class, not just for this year, but for the next 5 to 10 years. All right, when we come back from the break, people think that a certain franchise shouldn't take a quarterback at number 3, and it's nonsense. Back in my favorite segment of the show, Nonsense Narrative, right after this. Hey, welcome back in, and I'm not going to delay this any longer because it's time for my favorite segment of the show. It's time for the Nonsense Narrative. All right, so all of this is under the presumption that the Giants keep the number 3 overall pick. I don't see them trading out of it, but you never know. A lot of people are saying, and I've heard this from national analysts, TV hosts, radio hosts, that the Giants should not draft a quarterback at number 3. Now, you see Shedeur Sanders is on the screen next to me. I don't care if it's Shedeur Sanders. I don't care if it's Jackson Dart. I don't care if it's Jalen Miro. I don't care if it's Tyler Shock. I don't care who a quarterback is. I don't think it's a bad idea for them to take a quarterback at 3, and this is why. A lot of people say, well, this team is not that very good. They're not very good, okay? The Giants also have 4 picks in the top 100 total picks of the draft. They've got 8 total picks. They're going to have opportunities to get better. Why would you not want a potential game-changing quarterback at number 3? Well, he's not going to be ready to play, so you don't need to draft him at number 3. Well, I told you, just because you take a quarterback in the first round and even in the top 3 or top 5 or top 10 doesn't mean you have to play him right off. I think if nothing else, I think the Giants have done a great job to put themselves in position to draft their future quarterback by signing Russell Wilson to a 1-year deal and signing Jameis Winston to a 2-year deal. Because you signed a quarterback of the present, and then you signed a quarterback who can be your backup in Jameis Winston. Quarterback of the present being Russell Wilson. And I just said that you need to try to win in the present and in the future. Now, the Giants aren't in a position to win in the present because of what they've done 5 years ago, right? So I think this draft is not going to change that. But you have an opportunity to build for the future. They've got guys like Darius Slayton and Malik Neighbors there, right? They've got Dexter Lawrence. They've got players. They've got Brian Burns on the defensive side of the football. So taking a quarterback is not a bad thing. It'll be a bad thing if they take him and then throw him into the wolves and throw him into the fire early. That would be the bad thing. The choice at taking a quarterback number 3 would be an opportunity for you to say, hey, we really liked him. We're in a position to take a quarterback for the future. Let's let him sit, develop, even if it's for 2 years. Definitely 1 year, so he can learn the game on the sideline from consummate professionals, right? Whether the coaching staff this year will be there next year or not, now he's in a situation where he can try to go, even if he has to learn a new system. Taking a quarterback at 3 would not be the worst thing for the Giants. The worst thing would be for them drafting him and then throwing him into the fire immediately because they're trying to win with a team who's not ready. All right, when we come back from the break, it'll be the final drive. Back with the last segment of Move the Chains right after this. And welcome back into the show. Now it's time for the final segment of the show, which means it's time for the final drive. Listen, splash decisions don't always equal winning in the NFL. Do you remember back in the day when the Cowboys had a chance to take Johnny Manziel in the first round and everybody thought they were going to do it because they felt like the big star in the brand of Dallas needed Johnny Manziel, and they took one of their best offensive linemen? And I think that was something that was very atypical of Dallas, and it led to them doing very well in the draft and having great years even though they haven't been to a Super Bowl. That's what the NFL is about. It's about understanding what it is that you need. So the splash may equal the substance, but it doesn't always. So don't ever try to put the splash in front of the substance when you're trying to build a culture and win in the NFL. All right, don't forget, you can not only watch Move the Chains right here on the Sports Leader WXTX Fox 54, but you can also watch us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. It's at Move_the_Chains. The link is right there on the screen. Make sure you subscribe, leave a comment for your opportunity to be a part of the show. Hey, another banger. As always, greatly appreciate you for the best production crew in the business. I'm your boy, Jonathan Bam Rivers, and always remember, build every day, brick by brick. And until next time here on Move the Chains, God bless.